Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Future Hospitality Tastemakers. We've got your back panel discussion. We have a really great program for you today. We've got some really great speakers, great moderator, and a great program lined up for you today. Everything that we talk about today is all about helping hospitality students to get started in the career in hospitality or service and giving them some kind of tips and tricks on how to get started, what kind of career paths they might want to take, et cetera, et cetera. So without further ado, let's get rolling. My name is Mitch Woolley. I'm president of HSMEI Los Angeles chapter, also director of operations for eMarketing Associates, a digital marketing agency. I want to take this time to introduce the rest of our board members. We have some on the call. We have Samantha Rodriguez, who is our immediate past president. We have Libby Zarahi, who is our VP of Programs and Education. Jennifer Puchedli, who is VP of Membership. David Barnett, VP of Finance. Craig Carbonare, who is VP of Social Media. Levon Miner, who is VP of Sponsorships. Jody Flowers, who is VP of Student Affairs and COVID Recovery. And without further ado, our Managing Director, Sandra Martinez. Thank you to all of our board members for their support and for participating in our chapter on a weekly, monthly, and annual basis. We really appreciate their time. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our VP of Programs and Education, Libby Zarahi, and Libby is going to take it away. Libby, welcome. Libby, can you hear me?
Is she on mute?
Libby, you're on mute.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Mitch. I'm very excited to see how many people are engaged today. We have about 42 participants right now, and you can probably anticipate more to come on board for some latecomers. But I also wish that I would have had something like this when I was coming up in the business to counsel and coach and direct me. So I think this is just so topical, especially with the changing environment that we're all working in, regardless of whether we started today or 30 years ago. So again, thank you, Mitch, for making this available for our membership. Just a couple of reminders that will help us flow easier. Make sure that you're on mute unless you're speaking. That helps avoid the echo of phones and will provide a much crisper reception for you to hear the speakers and questions. Eliminate background noises. We find that using the chat box is a very organized way of posing your questions and allowing our panel to read to see who would best be able to answer it, although in some cases, everybody has an answer to it. So we look forward to that. I also wanted to take a minute today to tell you that our local chapter continues to move ahead with insightful meetings and collaborations. So for our May meeting, which will be Wednesday, May 19th, our subject is going to be recovery connections, with the governor recently announcing the reopening of the state of California on June 15th. There's much to do. Our webinar will be Recovery Connections, information on transitioning into post-pandemic times, and then taking all that information, rolling it up into our mailboxes and turning it into implementation initiatives. What are the most important mandates to know, and who do we collaborate with to implement them? We will have Heather Rodson, who is with the American Hotel Motel Association, and Catherine Hogan, who is with Cal OSHA. They will be our experts that will be addressing this subject matter. Then finally, I'd just like to encourage everybody to take advantage of the resources that are available to all of us on hsmai.org. We have a number of university online certification programs, very special rates that probably won't repeat themselves once everybody comes back into traditional business levels, which we're hoping will be soon. But HSMEI has offered these certifications for about 30 years, and I tell you, I'm in the middle of one right now, which is for digital, and not a more appropriate topic could I be studying right now based on how everyone is buying and evaluating online. So again, to reach those certifications and their descriptions, go to hsmai.org. Now I'd like to take a minute to introduce Jody Flowers, who's the Vice President of Student Affairs, not a more appropriate person to be the chief designer over today's program. So Jody, I'd like to invite you to take over at this point and start our hosting. Thank you.
Beth, so Jody Flowers, Flowers Hotel Group. I'm just gonna give a big shout out to everyone that's here today. Please find me on LinkedIn and we could connect and network this way. I've been in the business for many years and I look forward to being in the business for many more years ahead. Our panelists right now, we have Kevin Briggs. He is our moderator. Kevin is the general manager at the Glenmark Hotel in Glendale on brand. He's the general manager. He's our moderator. We also have Michael Kraus. Michael is the president and CEO of the Greater Ontario, California CVB. So Michael's a great resource for destination management, airport relations, and city relations. And you'll hear more from Michael within the hour. Shaquan is unable to make it today, unfortunately, but please find him on LinkedIn under Shaquan or Umbrella, the Purple Umbrella Company. Carrie Flowers, marketing guru of Genre Hotels. I know that he's been in the business for many years also. Miss Lavon Miner. Lavon is the director of sales in downtown LA at the LA Hotel. Lavon's contribution to the market, other than being the director of sales, is handling and managing sports, group, and entertainment business, along with Project Room Key for the property. So that's Michael, Carrie, Lavon, and the moderator again is Kevin. So let's just jump right to the panel and have fun. And students, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jody. This is great. I'm so glad to be surrounded by so much talent. Before we get into the nitty gritty and all the great questions, let's find out a little bit more about our panelists. Again, we do have 3 now today, but let's get into why they got into the business, what position they started in, what position they hold now, and how long have they been in the hospitality business. Let's start with who wants to start?
Carrie can start.
Okay, yeah.
Hello, everybody. It's Carrie Flowers. I'm the owner of a hotel company, a hotel marketing company called Genre Hotels. We're based in Los Angeles. Why I got into the business many years ago was I was currently going to Purdue University back in the Midwest, and I was in a different major. I was in management, and I couldn't really touch or feel management. It didn't seem like it was me. And so I remember asking my sister, my older sister, hey, any ideas about what kind of major I should go for? And she said, hey, you like travel, and there's a great hotel school at Purdue, try that. I went, wow, okay, it was that simple. That sort of made me think, I like to travel, I want to do something I love. And that's how I got into what I'm doing today from that one conversation. When I graduated from Purdue back in, I will tell you, before you were born, 1983, my first position was as an intern for Hyatt Hotel. And sorry, a call just came in. And they have an internship program that you have to interview for. And I remember they were looking for a number of people, and I had to use my sales skills to get that position. I had to use my personality. I had to use my tenaciousness to be able to actually be picked. And they selected me, and it was a year internship, and that sort of got me into what I'm doing today. My position now with Genre Hotels, it's a marketing company. As you know, there's different positions you can go for in the hotel industry. I mean, God, there's so many. And outside the hotel industry, you have car rental, you have airline, you have so many different ways of going. What happened was my father was an ultimate salesperson. And Jody, my sister, knows this. And he would always use his personality. He would make friends. He would network. He would just like be the brightest light. And that is what I looked up to. And I go, you know what? I want to be just like him. And so, not knowing where I was going to go in the hotel business, but it sort of directed me into the sales side of hotels. Hotels have a department called sales and marketing, and that's how you bring in the business into a property. I've been doing this now for about probably 35 years. It's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of hard work. But the one thing I've realized is you have to network. If you don't network, it becomes more difficult. And that's my story.
Oh, well.
That's great. That's great, Carrie. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Michael,
Okay.
what got you into the business?
Oh, brace yourself. It's a funny one, and you'll all relate to it because many of you have done how I started. So I actually, first of all, thanks you all to all of you for being here. And I'm Michael Krause, and I'm the president and CEO, as you heard, of the Greater Ontario Convention and Visitors Bureau. But I also run a few other thing. I run the Ontario Convention Center. I also run the Toyota Arena here in Ontario. And I also oversee a number of other buildings within the region that are about 12 other convention centers with a larger company called ASM Global, who also operates the Los Angeles Convention Center as a little connection to understand how they all work. How I got into the business is kind of a funny story. I came from a family that didn't have a lot of money, so I had to work very young. So I kind of found my way when I was going to school through jobs that would allow me opportunity to work a little younger, perhaps, than I probably should have started. And so the first kind of gig I had was I was a dishwasher at the J.C. Penney coffee shop. And those of you who are old enough remember they used to have one. I worked my way up to become a cook. I was very excited. I could cook breakfast so fast you couldn't believe it. That got me kind of connected with the customer service world. I became a host, went out into records and tapes in the old days when those existed, and then ultimately left that to do a funny job while I was going to school, which was driving school buses. And school buses got me into the job of driving tour buses. And by the way, in those days, they were union jobs, and I made $54,000 in 1980-ish, 1982 a year. So I was very excited. I thought, boy, I could do this the rest of my life. But I used to take tourists to Universal Studios, San Diego, et cetera. And I got my license to drive these big buses. So what you see today as tour buses, those big 40 and 45-foot buses, 53 people, 47 people, whatever they are. I used to haul those people to and from LAX and all different tourist destinations. So that's kind of how it all started. And then I ultimately worked my way up into supervision over hundreds of buses and so on and so forth. And then ultimately I got told, hey, you got to get into marketing. You're a good sales guy. You should get into marketing and sales. And that's how it kind of happened. I went from buses into marketing and buses and tourism, et cetera. And then I got my first hotel job. My first hotel job was in Anaheim, and it was working for a little hotel called the Ramada Inn on Catella, which doesn't exist there anymore. It used to have a little restaurant and all those kind of things. It was so exciting because it's a 200-room hotel. Wow, I can sell this and market this. And I quickly became the head of sales and marketing, and then ultimately wanted to work for the big chains. And so I was very excited about that because I was pretty well-rounded. I knew sales, I knew operations, and I knew a variety of other things, food and beverage, I was very good at, et cetera, as well. So all of those things with no experience, not a clue what I was doing. And I had smart, great people that guided me through that process and helped me through those opportunities. And the only way I got promotions was because I had great people that saw the potential in me. And so I certainly would share that with all of you, that that's a great thing to hook onto, is people who can see the potential in you and who believe in you, et cetera. Those are great opportunities. So I ultimately then became the different positions in hospitality. I became a regional vice president for Hilton Hotels Corporation, ultimately overseeing the entire Western US of Hilton owned and or operated hotels. And then lastly, I left briefly that job to go into an individual hotel, the Biltmore in Los Angeles downtown, for those who are not familiar with it, and ultimately became the vice president of convention and the vice president of convention, or senior vice president of convention sales, membership, and event services for the Los Angeles Tourism and Convention Board in downtown Los Angeles, overseeing the 500 square miles of Los Angeles, and then left there ultimately to go to Ontario, where I could become the president and CEO of all the things I just mentioned. So that's a very capsulated version of about almost 40 years of my career, and I still have my license to drive tour buses. In case this gig doesn't work, I can always go back and do that. So you can do anything. I'm the proof of it. So it's quite an exciting time. And that's
Wow.
me.
That's one heck of a resume right there.
Yeah,
That's tough to follow there, Levon.
I know. Wow. Thank you, Michael.
Hi, Levon.
Maybe we should make a question up.
Levon and I have known each other for probably 20 of those 40 years.
Yeah, that's great. That's
right
great.
on. Right. Yes. Yes. All right.
Okay,
I guess
Levon,
I'll
you're
go
up.
next.
Let's-
Yes. Okay. Well, the reason I actually got into the business, I got to say, growing up, we used to travel, my family and I, a lot. So we would stay at all these really nice luxury hotels and go to these nice vacation spots. And, I was just admiring all the beauty of the hotel industry. So, once I landed myself, I was in college, and then I looked into getting a job in the hotel industry. So of course I landed myself the front desk as guest service representative, at a hotel, a reputable hotel. And I started there. And from there, I was always engaging with our customers and carrying on conversations and going the extra mile, just doing whatever I could and being available, being adaptable. And I had one of the sales managers approach me and said, "Hey, you know what? You should really consider a sales career. I see how you talk to people, you engage with people. And once an opening come open, you should really look into sales." And I said, "Well, okay." Like Michael said, you don't know what you're doing, but you're like, "Okay, yeah, I'll try it all." So eventually I did my homework. I did some research about all the career paths that you can take in the hotel industry. And that position came open in sales. And I started in sales as a sales coordinator. And from there, I learned everything that I can learn, and then got promoted into a sales manager position, loved the industry, loving what I was doing. And then back in the day, a lot of you can attest to this, you would have recruiters call you and say, "Hey, I got an exciting opportunity here in Miami, here in Georgia, anywhere you wanted to go, pretty much." And that call came into me one day, and they had a career opportunity all the way from Tennessee to Los Angeles. So of course, who would turn that down? So I got on with Marriott Hotels and Resorts. They moved me to California, and the rest is history. I've been here enjoying what I'm doing, still enjoying what I'm doing. What can I say? It's a great, great opportunity, a great career path to stay in. And right now, yeah, thank you. And I'm here and just counting, so loving it.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much for that, Levon.
Thanks.
Now I know everybody that's attended today are dying to get some of these answers. So let's go in strong here. And this is for the panelists. So everybody watching now can really get the nitty gritty on this. So I want to ask the three of you, knowing what you know now about the hospitality business, if you could go back in time, what two pieces of advice would you share with everyone, and why?
I'll start off since life started. I would have to say the advice that I would give now would, if you can get that opportunity to do an internship somewhere, take advantage of it, because it's so many career path you can go down. I would say, first of all, know what industry, as far as the career area you would like to get in, whether it's food and beverage, hotel management, sales. stick to it, learn, and let it take you to a different area where you can really get to know the world too as you do that internship. That would be my strong advice. And once you graduate, you may want to consider doing an undergraduate degree in the hospitality industry. It is so well worth it. It's so rewarding, and it's a lot of fun.
So I
Among-
got a question.
Yeah.
So how you got hospitality? So how does hospitality works?
How the hospitality works? I can't hear.
Can you say that one?
Jess, could you repeat that one more time so we could hear that?
How does the hospitality work? How you greet guests in a hotel?
Mm,
Ooh, good question.
that's a good question.
I'll help you with that one as well. You know, different hotels have different styles. You have hotels that are, you know, very upscale, they're 5-star. And those hotels may want you to maybe act differently. You know, they want you to be ultra professional. They want you to wear your tie, your jackets. It's about how you greet the guests. You might end your sentence in "my pleasure." They train you to be the style that they want. Now, there's 3-star hotels, say, you know, less expensive properties, but they may also be more fun, more gimmick oriented, and they may want you not to wear a tie or a jacket. They may want you to use your personality more, to be who you are, to be different. So you have to look for what fits your style. And as you go through the industry, and again, it's just not hotels, it's also car, airline, cruise ships. It could keep going, passport companies. There's many different styles. You will find what best fits your style as you know more.
That
Great
was
answer,
great,
Gary.
Gary, because that's exactly what it's all about. I think the linking, it's key to remember. People forget this, and I've done a lot of fighting in the state over reopening and all these different things. I think it's important to understand that all of these things are linked in some way. So everything we do is interchangeable. So you don't stay at a hotel unless you have a business or leisure purpose for going there. It's there to support the industry. It's also there, the transportation components, what I mentioned earlier. The reason I became comfortable with hotels was because I was bringing all those happy people that Lamont referred to those destinations and hotels, just like you heard from her. So I think these things are all interconnected, and it's all encompassing of the hospitality, tourism, convention, meetings, business, whatever it is, world we live in the hospitality tourism side.
And I guess if you're going back to, Kevin, your question of 2 pieces of advice,
Yes.
what I would probably say as well to the students is what helped me when I was growing up in the business is to find somebody to mentor you. Find somebody who you can count on to help you sort of find your way, answer your questions, educate you more on what you can do in the travel industry. For me, I remember in my first position back in Monterey, California, as a sales manager, my director of sales, who was much older, you know, I looked up to her because she had such great advice, and she became my very first mentor. And as you continue in your life, you will have many mentors come through your life, but you have to seek them out. And then also, my other advice is, you know, we all are insecure. We all have to find our way. And, you know, growing up, you may think of yourself as, I don't fit in. I'm different. Do people like me? And what you do is you use all those insecurities as a positive. As you grow up in travel, the more different you are, I will tell you, the more successful you can become. because it's about using your personality. It's about using basically your presence. And the more that you're different, I will tell you, people will seek you out and they will want you. So don't be afraid to be different. That's a strength.
Sure.
I
That's
would
an
add,
excellent.
and let me
Oh,
add.
go
two
ahead.
things.
I'm sorry.
I didn't give my two things, so I want to make sure I'm clear on those. So the thing I want to make sure everyone knows is exactly what Carrie said, that mentor thing's big. So that's really my third one. But the most important thing to me was in myself is, and I think in all of you is, don't be afraid to go for whatever you think you could do. And let me tell you, I had a lot of people say, Michael, you can't go from the head of marketing and sales in buses to be the head of marketing and sales in a hotel, which is just total BS. It doesn't work that way. It works, marketing is marketing, whether you're marketing a widget or you're marketing, I'm being simplistic about it because there are very big differences. But conceptually, there is no reason you couldn't modify your behaviors or adjust to become a marketing person in a hotel. You're selling a head in a bed or a butt in a seat, however you want to look at it. And I often was told you'll never be able to do this because you would be able to accomplish that. But I did have a mentor at the time, the Anaheim Convention Visitors Bureau, Lynn Hanford, who's now with American Airlines. And Lynn said, Michael, you can go do this hotel thing. You've got to go do it. So I want to make sure that you all understand, most importantly, that there are people out here who believe in your ability to cross over in different parts of the hospitality industry, but also you should make sure you push for those. And again, remember, every opportunity I had came through my self-determination. I didn't let anybody tell me no, and I didn't let anybody tell me I couldn't do it. If they told me I couldn't do it, I went and did it. And to this day, that is a secret to my success in Ontario. Ontario, who the heck knew? We didn't have our airport. LA ran our airport. We didn't have, I didn't run the arena originally when I got here. I said, hell, I can do better on that. And so I went and did that. So my point to all of you is don't ever let anybody tell you no, and don't let anyone ever tell you cannot do something. You go and do it if you think you can do it, and you will do it.
Right. So true.
Yeah. And you never know who that mentor is going to be, especially once you get into the hotel. I mean, you could be a front desk agent and your mentor could be the executive housekeeper. It could be someone in HR. You never know who that person's going to be, not necessarily in the hotel or outside of the hotel. I'm seeing a lot of good questions coming in. And one of the questions was a question I was going to ask all the panelists anyway. So it's perfect. There's questions popping up. What are some of the jobs students should consider taking to get started in the hospitality business? Levon, let's start with you.
Yes, I would say, they can take a restaurant job. That's something in the hospitality industry. Anything that's, within the car rental segment, again, hospitality has such a vast of job opportunities. If you start in the hotel, you can start like at the front desk, like I did, and take it from there. It's so many different opportunities. You can start at Disneyland, going to places like that, getting that experience, that communication, that customer contact experience as well. Just make sure also that that's what you want to do, and you enjoy communication and being around people and solving customer service issues. You're not afraid of, to speak out and let your personality shine, because hospitality is truly, truly about that, communicating, social networking with your peers, with your colleagues, being a part of a team environment. All of that is very, very important. So again, some of the jobs are definitely in a hotel industry, tourism industry. Go to Disneyland. You got Six Flags out there. You got the restaurant industry. Just all of that is a great start to sharpen your communication skills and get into the business.
Levon, that is great. If I can add to you on that too, because I think it was so appropriate, is the issue that we face today with the changes in the world around us and the younger folks. What we're finding as leaders, I'll call me an older leader. The big adjustment is that a lot of the younger folks coming in have been communicating through text or through other forms of communication, not non-verbal communication. Probably a better way to say that. That is challenging in the hospitality tourism industry because we are an industry of people. That's why this whole issue of COVID has been so devastating to our industry. We have to interact with each other. We can't interact just on a webinar or just on a Zoom meeting. We have to be able to react in person, and we have to be able to effectively talk to people with a smile and properly groomed and properly ready to greet the public in a way that the public receives us in a positive way. And often that is lost in the younger demographic that we have to make sure is added back in because it is getting lost. It's a lost art of being able to communicate, as Levon said, with a front desk clerk, with a server in a restaurant, with a, with an individual who might work at Disneyland or who might work at another theme park. It's very important that you engage with people in a verbal way and have that skill to solve a challenge or to help them find something, etc. You can't just text them to go find something. They've got to, you're in front of them and you've got to talk to them and be able to communicate effectively. So I encourage you to grow your skills related to those if that's something you're not as comfortable with, because it is important in the hospitality industry.
Absolutely.
And if I could say that what Michael just said is, it's okay not to know where you're going after you graduate or even before you graduate. It's a common thread. And don't be afraid to take any position, because destiny takes hold of you. You will go where you're supposed to go based on what you do. So if you're a great networker, you're going to find your way. Even if you don't network that great, you're going to find somebody who actually can help you. So just know that if you all of a sudden get a job as a bellman at a hotel and you think it's below you, hey, you know what? Take that first job, learn from the people that you're going to actually be with. In our industry, you can move up so quick if you're good. And being good is many different things, right? So just if you get that job, you go, ooh, should I do it? Do it. And then you will find your way.
So true.
Hey, one more thing. Remember, while you're in school, you could take hospitality is great for part-time jobs. You can learn while you're going to school. Hospitality is a ton of part-time jobs. So you don't have to work a full-time job. You can experiment with different jobs while you're going to school. So it's a great job while you're going to college.
True.
I have to add something to everyone here. Other than network and the experience and our degrees and getting our foot in the door and travel, I think it's also important to talk about write a plan. And it's okay to write the plan every month or every year. But if you write a plan and scribe for yourself and put your goals down on a piece of paper or on a digital device and then make those adjustments, then you have a quicker path to success, even if it's the simplest thing as getting your foot in the door and being a waitress or being a dishwasher, because eventually you're going to want to jump out of those positions and go into management, into a supervisory leadership position. So students, if I could say something, always write a plan and plan for changes and adjustments. Thank you.
That's great. That's great, Jody. Yeah, and just to add to what everyone has said, you might not get your foot in the door immediately into a hotel or wherever it might be, but I know that through my experience, as the panelists have said, hospitality is hospitality. And, I've hired people at the hotel with absolutely zero hotel experience, but they may have worked the counter at a Pinkberry for 5 years. Well, that tells me loyalty, and it tells me that they know how to work with customers, and they've obviously done a good job because they've been able to hold their job. So it's really about getting anybody with any type of hospitality, on their resume and just sitting down and just talking to them. So you really, really want to just shine and show your personality you know, when you're in those interviews and you're talking to people, because, you know, it's something that can be taught, but you really have to have it. And your mentor is going to teach you how to perfect that.
I agree with that too, Kevin. As I stressed before, you know, also you want to be committed in what you want to do as well. And that'll take you a long way. Have a very good positive attitude in what you're going to do, and make sure it's what you want. You know, as we say in our industry, you either love it or hate it. And obviously all of us are here and we love it. Yes.
Well, we certainly wouldn't have done it for what, 30 and 40 years in some cases if we didn't love it. And we certainly love it. And every day, the other thing to remember is every day is a new experience. There isn't any day that is the same. Some will be, oh my gosh, what's just happened? And other days will be, wow, I learned 50 things today. And there is just, you know, and you'll meet great people. I've met in this job, I have met presidents, I've met every celebrity imaginable. I've met live performers. I've met Pink. I've met, you know, people you would never think you would meet in your lifetime. I've been able to travel the world and see 4 times to Australia, New Zealand, not on my dime, on other people's money. So it's even better.
True.
There's a lot of fun to be had too, my friends.
There is, especially when you don't know what your path is going to be. I mean, you know, for me, I started out as a pool boy on the top of
something like that.
You know, and you know, your front desk agent, the opportunities are just wide open. You have no idea what direction you're going to be in, and while you're working, you may change that, get into something that you never thought you were going to get into. I never thought I was going to get into sales, but I got into sales. I didn't even know what revenue management was when I was a front desk agent, because revenue management wasn't really that big 15 years ago. So, you know, you just never know where your path is going to go, but you just keep working hard and surrounding yourself with the right people. You know, the sky's the limit.
I think there was a question I saw that I thought I'd answer too, which was age is not.
Did you guys ever meet the Lakers in the hotel?
Sorry?
Do you ever meet the Lakers, like the Laker players?
I meet the opponents.
Did you ever meet the Lakers, Michael?
Oh yeah, I met Kobe before he passed away. Because I worked in downtown LA, I got to meet everybody. So I probably have met every player at that time, which is about 8 years ago. About 8 years ago, I was there for almost 10 years in LA. So I met a lot of very important people over the years, pretty fun people. Met every mayor, met every council member, interacted with them every day. It was a different, you know, it's just a very different world, hospitality. You interact with wide ranges of people, and it's very interesting, but just remember one thing. They're just like the rest of us. They all put one leg in first and put the second one in after on a pair of pants. So don't get excited. It's not as that yet celebrity thing is all Hollywood hype. They're just people. You treat them like people. They're great.
I will tell you that Shaq was the first and the only person I've ever seen duck to go through a hotel lobby door, though.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Hey, but I want to go back and make sure you caught my point about age demographic. Age in the hospitality industry is really not a thing. You can do, at any age group, you can work in hospitality. And that's a very important thing. There was someone who asked about seniors on the questions. And I said, at the arena, for example, I use seniors for all of our ticket takers, and a lot of seniors love to do those kind of jobs. They love to interact with people. It's very important.
Well, do we want to see if we have some other questions coming up from our attendees?
Yes, someone asked, do we ever meet Mexican soccer players downtown LA? Absolutely. We've hosted the entire team here. So, oh my God, yes. Yes, yes.
I also, you know, to kind of go along with, you know, when you meet people and how to actually interact with them, I think it's important too, as a young person, to really hone your public speaking skills. You know, sometimes we all get tongue-tied. We get nervous when we speak in front of crowds. You know, if you have a job as a waitress, a front desk person, working with people, the more you do that, you basically become a stronger individual because you learn how to react on the fly. So if you're a bit nervous about working with people and if it's not your thing, you know what, push yourself and take one of those people jobs, you know, and learn how to be learn how to be a stronger individual inside. It'll shine outside.
Absolutely.
That's a great idea and great suggestion. And frankly, Toastmasters is an organization that is very helpful on that. I had a salesperson that works for me today, who's now my senior manager. She became the chair of Toastmasters, and she was hesitant about public speaking. Shoot, you can't shut her up now. She talks constantly. And she's one of my best salespeople, so she could publicly speak and all that. And Toastmasters, she attributes to why she can do that better. Of course, I'm working for me because I never shut my mouth. So,
and now I'm sure, you know, being young, you know, everything you want to learn is on Google, you know, so if you want to impress yourself or learn more, go online and see how you can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So to our panelists, how many jobs should we apply to right out of graduation is a question. How many jobs should they apply to right out of graduation?
I would say
that's when you say guys,
all of them.
Yeah, all of them.
the sky's the
all of them.
limit. Come all.
Yes.
Yes.
I think I'd say based on what you experiment with during college, you know, as far as some of these part-time opportunities might be available out there, et cetera, some of those things might guide you in how many or what type of jobs you apply for. So I would think it's kind of based on what you're experiencing and kind of thinking you might have an interest in along the way. So that might cause some judgment on how many. But I'd say it's very wise in the hospitality industry to get a lot of applications out there. There's a lot of demand for hospitality jobs, especially those in management or in leadership positions. We always need part-time labor for all of the positions that are serving our guests throughout the building. So it is throughout the buildings and the operation. So I do think there's a lot of opportunities, especially when you're starting off. You know, there's a lot of choices.
And you remember back in the day when we were younger, the question from interviewers, the one that would always stump me was, what's one of your greatest weaknesses? I'm like, oh, okay. So you have to prepare yourself for those questions that might stump you. And what they're looking for really on that question is basically your weakness, but how does that become your strength? So you have to learn to be able to answer those questions, but you just don't say, you know, oh, it's my personality. There's nothing there. What you say is, right? Sometimes, you know what, when I'm working with people, I have to learn to basically become that confident person to be able to say, you know what, how may I help you? What more can I do for you? So a weakness like an insecurity is also it's a positive because it makes you stronger inside to become the best person you can be. So just make sure you learn the interview questions on how to actually answer them in a very, very positive way.
Gary, I think that's great advice for the gang. I think I would say I also learned in Hilton, we had a strategy. We had a very so I go back to hotels because of course they always had big strategy stuff. Some of the questions that I still use today are, what would your friends say about you in a performance review?
Ooh.
What would your best
customer
say you needed to improve upon?
Right.
You know, there's a couple of tricky ones there, and they're designed to get information out of you, of course, that you're going to sit there and be confused by that question. But it's really getting to very much what Carrie just said. in a different way of asking it. You know, it's just very interesting. What are the 3 most important things to you in life? It's making sure you have a work-life balance and that you aren't all absorbed into your work life so you have no personal life, you know, those kind of things. So there's a lot of stuff that over the years we pick up. I still use those today, and I've worked for Hilton for 20 years. But you get the idea. I think someone keeps raising their hand. Andrew, are you trying to ask a question? Bless your heart, you're over there trying. We're not looking.
Yes, I was. I was just like saying, like, since if I can do more things in confident, how should I? How should I do? How should I do it?
To become more confident, Andrew?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys.
Okay, I'll take that first, Andrew. So I used to be very insecure in my 20s because I felt like I was working with professionals who were older than me, right? And they knew more than me. And it made me feel like I have a lot to catch up on. And so what I started to do was, okay, I went into the sales and marketing realm, and I had to meet a lot of people like you would if you were a bellman, right? And I pushed myself to be the one that would say, how can I help you? Or how are you feeling today? I would make them feel good. And I'll tell you, when they feel good, it makes you feel good, and that insecurity goes away and you become more confident. So by making people happy is what's going to make you a happier, more confident person.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Makes very sense, likely.
And life lessons are very easy. Our industry is not difficult. You know what? If you make people happy, if you do a good job, if you're detailed and you follow up, you will do very good, right?
Right.
I get you on that one.
You know, Carrie.
Right.
Mhm.
I'll try it.
And just to add to what Carrie said, also, Andrew, you know, you can ask to do something that's not related to your job, a different area. Ask them, can you help them with something in other departments? And usually sometimes people can tell you, yes, I need help with this. I need you to research something for me. And again, that will help you a lot as far as not feeling insecure because you're doing other tasks. It's just not that one thing that you're doing. You can expand your horizons by asking to be helpful to other areas.
I love
Thank
that.
you for that,
Levon. That's
Thank
what I like to do, as always.
Yeah. Thank you, Carrie and Levon. You know, those answers really pretty much answer one of the questions up here as well, where how do you continue being a team player when everyone else on the job isn't? Ignore them. Just focus on yourself and the task at hand and do it the best that you possibly can. And you'll rise above those players that don't have as much of this as you do.
Right. And I also indicated for something like that, for folks that are not a team player, my best suggestion would be keep it positive. If they're talking negative, turn it around with something positive and always speak positive to them. And sooner or later, you're going to be left out of those negative environments because they're going to think that person is so positive. I'm not saying anything else that's negative towards that individual.
Exactly.
And the leadership will discover that person and weed that person to some
These words honor me.
You know,
very likely.
Yeah.
I'm so honored.
Me too. That's great, Andrew. You know, there's another very good question that has come in, and it's about applying for jobs. It's a very good question. Are there still HR departments, or is it all online?
It's HR departments, yes, but everything today, you have to start online. We do still have an HR department here who receives the applications, review them, and then make the contacts back for those who qualify. So absolutely, it's still an HR online. I mean, you know, department inside, but they just want you to do everything online first.
Can
Yeah,
I
we read-
add, I need to add something it's super important though too, is in the event that anyone in the audience knows someone that works in a hotel or a restaurant or at a country club, maybe that one connection could be that foot in the door into the operation. So Lavon's absolutely right about the online process with HR, but you, that student, or any of us may know someone that could help you with the vertical ladder and the intro into that door, just with the neighbor or a babysitter or someone that you may know that work at a current operation. So reach out to that person and ask them, hey, can you help me get a job into this facility or to this operation? Then they can make the intro with a text or an email or a physical introduction with that network, with the person at that operation. So online, yeah, but that physical connection and that network is still prevalent out there.
Yeah, Jody, that was an excellent point, and I'll give you an example. I have to rehire now all the people I laid off. Or excellent feedback. All these people I laid off. Now I'm going to start rehiring in all of these operations that we operate. And the challenge you're facing is there's so many people out of work. You're going to get thousands of resumes. So it does help. I will listen more to a recommendation from an existing employer, an employee who I have great respect for their work ethic, etc. Before I'll start going through piles of resumes, I'll take a recommendation and really evaluate that one in a higher priority. So I think that's a very, very important point for everybody.
I think we might have time for one more before we start to wrap it up here. This question just came in. Do you hire people who are part of the nationality, especially African Americans, Mexican American, etc.?
Boy, I'll take that one to start. I live that every day. So it's diversity is a high priority, both not only ethnicity, but also orientation, other points within in the diversity world. So I will tell you that, first of all, it isn't like you're sitting there saying, I need 2 of this, 3 of that, and 5 of that. It's really based on your skill level. And that is always the highest priority, but we certainly go to extra effort to ensure that we are bringing the diversity of our community into our business. Remember, we in this market, for example, we live in a higher Latino demographic. So we work very hard to bring in the other demographics that might not be Latino because we have so many options of the Latino market. So there's just different ways that you will deal with diversity, but the most important thing is fair and equitable to all, and we take no position related to singling out or isolating other individuals. Examples of that are, you can't even ask a person today if they have had a COVID test, and you can't demand it of them. So there's just a million. Remember, there are California laws that are very strict here that prevent us from doing anything that might be discriminatory or perceived as discriminatory. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I got a very heavy thought, about that, about the lawsuit. If I were to go to work, just got to ask, what is my strength? My strength is I love being kindful to others.
Oh,
And I love helping
You love that.
customers. Yeah, that really makes me feel.
Well, then this is
honored
the
with
right industry
all
for
my
you, Andrew.
heart.
A good
Yeah.
start, Andrew.
This is a good start. That's the right attitude.
Yeah, that's what I think about so
I have
much.
a question.
Yes.
How can you get ahead of others?
how can you get ahead of others?
Going the extra mile, doing more, not waiting for people to ask you to do things. Be
Show it.
dedicated, adaptable. What you gonna say,
Show,
Karen?
right. Show it.
Yeah.
Show initiative. Don't say no. Right? It's like, I remember, gosh, Jody, when you and I do trade shows back in the day, we would be the last ones at the trade show cleaning up, and we were the ones who owned the company, right? So it's
Right.
like, don't be the first to leave, be the last to help.
Yeah.
That will show who you are.
That's excellent. Excellent, Levon and Carrie. I want to thank all of the panelists for everything today. Before I turn it over to Libby here, great questions, great answers, and I really hope that everybody on this call understands how special everyone is on this call, including yourselves, because there's such great opportunity ahead of you. But let's turn it over to Libby.
Thank you, Kevin. You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I learned so much today, and I've been in the business for, well, let's say several years, but I thought some of the commentary was just so valuable that I encourage those students really take to heart what some things that were said. There's a couple things that stayed with me, and one was Carrie's comment about finding a mentor. And a mentor doesn't always have to be someone that's more experienced. They can definitely be more innovative. I look for mentoring for someone that's younger. Why? Because I'm so into developing my skill sets with online platform presence, with Facebook, with Twitter. That goes to a very certain generation where it just becomes natural. So I think mentoring is extremely important. I know the board isn't looking at this to have a mentoring program, but I'll just go out on a ledge right now and say any of these students here today that are interested in being mentored, please communicate with us and we will do our best to get you matched up with someone. And you can ask the question, what would a mentoring program look like? And we might be able to address that in June when we have our networking job fair. That'll be Wednesday, June 16th. But we'll have another meeting before that on Wednesday, May 19th, and that's the Recovery Connections. Look for a special email. Everybody on here can look for a special email next month that is going to give you a very dynamic platform for sponsorship. A sponsorship that's going to amplify your presence with a measurable return on investment. And that is so critical in today's post-pandemic expense controls. What am I going to get for what bang am I going to get for my buck is, I guess, the best way that I can say it. But I'm really excited about it. And so I just encourage everybody to stay engaged with HSMAI, both globally and on the local platform level in Los Angeles. So thank you again. And I'd like to ask Mitch to close us out for the day.
Thank you so much to all of our panelists, our moderator, and for everyone who attended today's event, Future Hospitality Tastemakers panel discussion. Really appreciate your attendance today. As I put in the chat box, all of you hospitality students are looking for summer, fall, or 2022 internships. Please fill out the contact form on our website with your interest, and then we'll reach out and get in touch with you. There have been quite a few employers who have already approached us, hotels and people that are aligned with and affiliated with hospitality and service, who have already expressed an interest in getting some interns. And so fill out that form and we'll get back with you. There were a couple of questions that we unfortunately didn't have time to address today. And if you'd also put those questions in that contact form, we'll be happy to get back to you and answer those questions. But if there's no other business, I thank you all for attending today. Thanks everyone. Have a great day.